Hey guys, this is Steven from Lane Films, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial lesson on the very basics of LEGO Robotics, LEGO Mindstorm's EV3 programming. It's just going to go over the very basics, but there will be more videos on more advanced stuff. So to get started, you can either go to File, New Project, then Program, or you can just add project. This also, when you open it, this pops up, this box. You can just close it by hitting that. You can open it again by hitting that. It also brings up this program. It's a blank program except for the start block, which starts the program. You can rename the project by File, Save Project As, and you can rename the program by double-clicking on it. Okay, so after we do that, then let's get into the fundamentals of programming. This time we're just going to be going over these action blocks, such as moving the robot. So the first and main block we'll be using is this move steering block. This is good for a block because it controls both motors at the same time. You can set it to rotations, degrees, seconds, on or off. You can tell it to steer, power, number of rotations, and whether to brake at the end of the program. By the way, this should always be set as true, or a check mark. Okay, so let's take a look at the first part. This is on for a certain amount of rotations. There are different settings. Off turns the motors off. On turns the motors on. On for seconds turns the motors on for a certain number of seconds. On for degrees is degrees that the motor turns, and on for rotations is full rotations of the motor. Pretty much the main thing you should be using, unless is rotations. Degrees is for if you're doing less than one rotation and you want to get really precise, like 174, instead of having to do like whatever it is, like 0.5083, or I that's not it, but just saying. So you normally use rotations unless that's for a small amount. And seconds, you should try to avoid using seconds as much as possible because, okay, so say your robot is here at the starting line. It goes, and it's at a full battery level. After moving for 2 seconds, it goes fast since it's at a higher battery, so it makes it all the way over to here. So then you run it again later, and it has a far less battery in it, and it might only make it to here. So seconds is inconsistent, but if it's rotations, it's the same exact distance every single time. Okay, so the next thing is steering. Oh, I forgot to add, for seconds you should use this when you're like running into a wall, because you would have to get the exact number of rotations right, because it doesn't move on to the next thing in the program until it's done. So that would be one example where you use seconds. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be looking at is the steering. This tells the robot to go either straight, left, or right. It gets in bigger increments as it goes on. Okay, the next thing is power. This is the speed of the robot. It should generally be in between 50 and 75, because if it's too slow, it just will be too slow, and if it's too fast, it'll wear out battery life. 0 is stopped and negative values are backwards. Okay, so then we're going to number of rotations. This is just the number of rotations of the wheel, so 1 would be 1 rotation, 2 would be 2, and it just goes on until, well, the highest number it can get to. Anyways, we sort of already covered this, just always leave it at a check mark. Okay, so that's the basic move steering block. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the medium motor block. This is generally used for attachments, and it has the same basic idea, except it doesn't have a steering. The default port for the smaller motor is port A, whereas the steering motors are B and C. So same thing, power. However, this it doesn't go forwards and backwards. It's just one way or the other way. Again, number of rotations. You can actually set this to -1, and that would be the same as having -50 and 1. But that's just a cool feature I found. That's pretty much it. The next one is large motor. This one is also generally used for attachments, but bigger attachments. D is the default for bigger attachments. Again, same thing. So that's not too complicated, right? So the next thing we're going to do is, well, it's still more basics. It's not all of these will be covered since some are more advanced. But the next one is weight. This basically waits until something. You can put a move steering block. This would go forward at 50% power for 1 rotation, and then it would wait for 1 second, and then the motors would turn off. So that's pretty much the basics of what a weight block can do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just part 1 of a large number of tutorials on how to program in the EV3 education software. So be sure to like this video, comment any questions you'll have, and I'll try to cover them in one of the upcoming videos. And be sure to subscribe to the channel too for more tutorials and LEGO videos. Thanks.